Are you happy and satisfied now? Hurry up and sign the divorce papers then, I urged my husband, Gavin, with a tone of finality. All right, fine. Oh, but from here on out, if anything happens, I won't help or support at all, okay? Gavin replied nonchalantly. My mother-in-law, Wendy, who was also present, joined in with a sly grin. Nim. Yes, yes. I think that's more like what we should be saying to you. As I finished signing the divorce papers, both Gavin and Wendy looked exceedingly pleased, basking in their shared jubilation. Little did they know that a storm was brewing ahead. My name is Naomi, and I'm a 32-year-old office worker. Gavin and I had been married for 3 years. He worked diligently for a major company, often coming home late due to his demanding job. Consequently, I took on most of the responsibilities for cooking and household chores. Despite our busy lives, we cherished the quality time we spent together as a couple, occasionally socializing with friends and colleagues. As we didn't have any children yet, we enjoyed the freedom to pursue our individual interests, making life relatively stress-free. At least I had no major complaints or grievances about our relationship. However, a lingering concern had started to trouble me lately: Gavin's frequent business trips and long working hours, even on holidays. Previously, Gavin's business trips were sporadic, occurring around once a month, and working on weekends or holidays was a rare occurrence. However, over the past few months, his trips had become more frequent, happening almost twice a month, and he seemed to be working incessantly. I couldn't help but wonder why his workload had suddenly become so demanding. When I questioned Gavin about it, he remained tight-lipped, insisting, "There are a lot of things going on at the company right now. It's not right to divulge confidential information even to your own spouse." While I understood the need for discretion, this increase in his work hours seemed highly unusual. What puzzled me even more was Gavin's apparent lack of discomfort with this new schedule. In fact, he appeared strangely content with his constant business trips and extended working hours, eagerly leaving our home behind. I know him well, and I could tell that his happiness wasn't stemming from an intense passion for his job. Gavin rarely discussed work at home and never expressed a desire for career advancement or improvement. There were no signs of increased motivation or dedication to his work. What perplexed me the most was that despite his extended work hours, Gavin's salary remained stagnant. Considering the long hours he put in, unpaid overtime seemed implausible. It was equally unlikely that he received no compensation for working on his days off and holidays. These circumstances led me to entertain suspicions about my husband. Could he be having an affair behind my back? Were his business trips merely excuses for rendezvous with his lover, and were his days off and holidays spent on secret dates? As these thoughts swirled in my mind, they became increasingly difficult to dismiss. I yearned to check my husband's phone for clues, but he always kept it close, even within our home. It remained in his pocket even during trips to the bathroom or while washing his face in the morning. My suspicions felt increasingly valid. Driven by a mix of emotions, I decided to trust my instincts and enlisted the services of a private investigator to delve into the matter. While I hoped my gut feeling was wrong, the discomfort and uncertainty drove me to seek answers. A few weeks later, the investigation yielded results, confirming my husband's guilt. His lover turned out to be a colleague from his workplace, a single career-oriented woman who matched his preferences and looks. She was tall, attractive, and had the physical attributes my husband found appealing. I was consumed by anger. While I, too, enjoyed socializing with friends and occasionally having lunch on my days off, I had never crossed any boundaries. I had loved and remained faithful to my husband, cherishing our life together. In contrast, he had easily betrayed our relationship, lied to me, and acted recklessly. Filled with determination, I resolved to hold both my husband and his lover accountable. My first step was to confide in my mother-in-law, Wendy, with whom I shared a reasonably good relationship. I knew she would address the situation and support me. I had called Wendy beforehand to inform her of the important matter I wanted to discuss, and I made my way to her home. Wendy had been living alone for a few years since her husband's passing. Upon my arrival, she welcomed me warmly, expressing curiosity about my sudden visit. As I proceeded to divulge the news about Gavin's ongoing affair and presented photographic evidence obtained from the investigator, Wendy's reaction was unexpectedly nonchalant. She displayed no signs of astonishment or the anticipated emotional response. Wendy's composed demeanor made me question whether she believed her son was truly having an affair or if she harbored doubts about the evidence. I reiterated that Gavin was indeed having an affair, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. Her response, however, caught me off guard. She casually suggested divorce as if the matter held no real significance. I confirmed my intent to pursue a divorce, yet found myself perplexed by the ease with which the conversation had transpired. Was she truly disinterested in her son's marital issues? To my surprise, Wendy took an unexpected turn. She nonchalantly summoned my husband and his lover, Gavin and Logan, from the adjoining room. I was left dumbfounded, questioning how she had discovered their presence. My shock grew as Wendy casually welcomed Gavin and Logan, explaining that she had called them over after suspecting the nature of my visit. Incredulous, I confronted Wendy, accusing her of siding with and supporting their actions. Her response was as astonishing as it was callous. Wendy openly approved of Gavin's affair, asserting that Logan was a superior partner. She criticized me for my perceived inferiority and openly declared that Logan's attributes, including her higher income and good looks, made her a more attractive choice than me. In disbelief, I pointed out that Wendy's judgment was superficial and questioned if she was truly willing to disregard the gravity of Gavin's actions. Wendy's final words reinforced her stance. I had never been Gavin's first choice, always a mere second in comparison to Logan. "Isn't that right, sweetheart?" my husband chimed in, echoing Wendy's sentiment. I seethed with anger at my husband's dismissive tone and the indifference of his lover, Logan, who stood beside him, glaring at me as if I were the source of all their troubles. While I yearned to confront them both physically, I knew it would only put me at a disadvantage. Suppressing my anger, I addressed them calmly. "I couldn't care less if you two decide to remarry, but I'll ensure you pay alimony." My mother-in-law responded with a malicious smile, saying, "We'll pay it. We can afford it easily, especially when we combine Gavin and Logan's incomes." My husband then presented me with a stack of papers, revealing them to be divorce papers. I realized this had been his plan all along. However, I refused to sign them immediately. Their collective surprise was palpable. "Why not?" they protested. "You said you were getting a divorce. Just sign and get it over with." I remained resolute. "I won't sign just yet. I'm not convinced it's the right time." Their insistence escalated into a threat. "You won't leave here until you sign." I recorded their threat, reminding them that it could be turned over to the police. Gavin and Wendy began to falter. I emphasized my refusal to comply with their demands. "I'll decide when it's time for the divorce. Next time we meet, let's have our lawyers present." With that, I left Wendy's place, leaving her stunned and Logan visibly annoyed. Upon returning home, I packed my bags and sought refuge at my parents' house. They were surprised by my abrupt arrival, but infuriated when they learned of the ordeal. They assured me I could stay with them as long as necessary until the situation was resolved. A month later, I engaged a lawyer to discuss alimony with my husband. During our meeting to discuss alimony, my husband, Gavin, insisted on having Wendy present. Although it promised to be a contentious encounter, I was willing to proceed. One of the reasons I had refrained from immediately signing the divorce papers was my hope for a better alimony arrangement. With guidance from my lawyer, I formally requested alimony from Gavin. Additionally, I sent a certified mail containing my demand for alimony to Logan. Gavin promptly agreed to the terms and committed to paying the specified amount, saying, "Are you happy and satisfied now? Hurry up and sign the divorce papers then." Once I had signed the divorce papers, both Gavin and Wendy appeared ecstatic, reveling in their apparent triumph. Little did they know that unforeseen challenges awaited them. Following the divorce, I relocated to a one-bedroom apartment close to my workplace, simplifying my daily commute and allowing me to work longer hours without concerns about household chores. As my professional commitment grew, so did my income. I invested my efforts into advancing my career, acquiring certifications, and significantly boosting my earnings. Approximately a year after the divorce, I received a call from a familiar but elusive number. I hesitantly answered, only to discover that it was Wendy, my ex-mother-in-law, on the other end. She sounded distressed and pleaded for my help, mentioning her struggles due to Logan's actions. I couldn't help but connect the dots and inquired if she was still facing difficulties with loan sharks. Wendy was surprised by my knowledge and accused me of betrayal, but I reminded her of their own actions that had led to our current situation. During our meeting to discuss alimony, my husband Gavin insisted on having Wendy present. Although it promised to be a contentious encounter, I was willing to proceed. One of the reasons I had refrained from immediately signing the divorce papers was my hope for a better alimony arrangement. With guidance from my lawyer, I formally requested alimony from Gavin. Additionally, I sent a certified mail containing my demand for alimony to Logan. Gavin promptly agreed to the terms and committed to paying the specified amount, saying, "Are you happy and satisfied now? Hurry up and sign the divorce papers then." Once I had signed the divorce papers, both Gavin and Wendy appeared ecstatic, reveling in their apparent triumph. Little did they know that unforeseen challenges awaited them. Following the divorce, I relocated to a one-bedroom apartment close to my workplace, simplifying my daily commute and allowing me to work longer hours without concerns about household chores. As my professional commitment grew, so did my income. I invested my efforts into advancing my career, acquiring certifications, and significantly boosting my earnings. Approximately a year after the divorce, I received a call from a familiar but elusive number. I hesitantly answered, only to discover that it was Wendy, my ex-mother-in-law, on the other end. She sounded distressed and pleaded for my help, mentioning her struggles due to Logan's actions. I couldn't help but connect the dots and inquired if she was still facing difficulties with loan sharks. Wendy was surprised by my knowledge and accused me of betrayal, but I reminded her of their own actions that had led to our current situation. After freeing themselves from the clutches of that woman, Gavin and Wendy found their finances significantly depleted over the past year, with severe psychological repercussions. In comparison, I believe I am the happiest among us all. So in the end, everything turned out well. Wendy seemed to have a misguided notion that she could reunite Gavin and me because of our cooperation at the end. She made several attempts to contact me, but I chose to ignore her calls and block her. Subsequently, I embarked on a romantic relationship with a colleague from work, and 2 years later, we got married and now have a child together. My new husband is a wonderful person, and I feel extremely content with him. I look forward to cherishing our time together and watching our child grow. In this story, there were certainly some eccentric characters. Wendy's behavior, especially when she orchestrated the meeting between Logan and Gavin, was truly bizarre. However, it was ultimately Wendy and Gavin's failure to recognize Logan's true nature that led to their predicament. In the end, Natalie, who had led a decent life, found the greatest happiness, while Gavin and Wendy faced the consequences of their actions. As for Logan, she seemingly disappeared from the company, hopping from one consumer loan to another. It remains a mystery where she ended up, but one can only hope she faced the repercussions of her actions as well. In any case, I'm delighted that Natalie appears to have found a new and joyful family.